Get ready for a no BS approach to health and fitness. This is NBS Fitness Radio.
All right, what's up? We're back with NBS Fitness Radio. We are here with Chris Hoppe. Chris is a member of NBS Fitness. He's got a background as a gym owner, CrossFit gym owners. He was a regional athlete, and we really are excited to have him on today to kind of talk about his story, kind of transitioning. So, Chris, kind of give us your background, how you got into fitness, and kind of just start from there.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me on. General background, I would say I played sports my whole life. I was in karate when I was younger, and then I got into football. And then after football, I played college ball for about a year. I always loved the strength and conditioning aspect of it. I always just felt, I don't know, I felt comfortable in the gym. It always felt home. I always wanted to be in there after practice. It was just...
Where'd you play ball at?
I grew up in Texas, so I played high school football in Texas, and then I moved to Colorado to play for a D2 school called Adams State.
Okay. And what position were you?
In high school, I was offensive lineman, and then I moved to more of a defensive end in college.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Ditto.
Yeah, it was the size discrepancy of both the school and the offensive lineman. Going from high school in Texas, my high school was larger than the college I went to.
Yeah.
And, it was like our average on our offensive line was like 380 in high school. And then you go to D2 school in college, and it was roughly the same, if not less. And I just couldn't keep up with that size. It crushed me. So.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so I fell in love with the strength and conditioning aspect, and then from that, I kind of fizzled out of football and was just kind of floundering and found my way back to the gym, and ended up getting into a little bit more of bodybuilding at that time. It was something I hadn't really had a chance to get into, which was cool.
Yeah.
But it kind of got me left wanting. I kind of got bored, and then that's kind of what springboarded me into the rest.
What attracted you to bodybuilding?
I could see the transformation.
Okay.
I could see I was kind of out of shape. I was after football. I didn't need to be like big anymore, as far as offensive, defensive lineman. And I was like, all right, well, I can move a lot of weight. And, it seemed to be the logical in. It was like, here we go. So, it was kind of the easiest in, and that's all I really knew.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
How'd you find out about those workouts? Were you creating your own? Were you reading magazines or?
It was definitely a muscle mag driven.
Okay.
100%. I had every one of them just stacked up, and just reading all the workouts and things like that. And then I wanted to make a career out of it. So I was like, I like doing this. So I went to a place in Colorado called the National Personal Training Institute.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I went there, and I, it was awesome. I just fell in love and immediately got a job at 24 Hour Fitness, being a personal trainer, and I worked out 24/7 and lived at the gym.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So you went down kind of the bodybuilding path.
Yep.
Said, man, something's lacking here. And what was that lack?
I think it was a bit of the team atmosphere that I was used to from football. Like I wanted to work out with my buddies, and the difficulty from like a cardiovascular sweat, just like a practice, if I wanted to practice is what I felt. And I didn't get that. And I was bored, with the muscle mags, if that's your thing, no problem. I totally understand. But it seemed like it was the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. It'd come out the next month, it'd be the same routine a little differently, this routine a little differently. And I was like, for me, I was like, I'm missing that. And that's what I think kind of primed the pump, if you will, for CrossFit.
Okay. So how did you find out about CrossFit?
It was actually it's funny. I remember it just distinctly like it was yesterday. And it was, I think it was 2006. And I had started to mix different workouts from different muscle magazines together, like back to back. So it'd be like, all right, do these levels of back squats. And then it was like, do these box jumps and then do this bench. And I started to do those things back to back to back to back. And there was a sales manager that walked up to me. He was like, man, you should try this thing. It's called CrossFit. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, just check it out. It's like a mix of all this stuff together. Like, it's kind of weird, but it looks like what you're doing. You might like it. I saw a guy in here doing it the other day.
Yeah.
And I was like, Oh, okay. And then that was kind of the first attempt. I'll put it that way.
And so originally you were doing CrossFit in a commercial gym.
Yeah, 24-hour fitness in Colorado Springs, and
did you get some pretty amazing looks
all the time? Yeah, up until the day we left, we were constantly kind of pushing the boundaries of what was acceptable for sure.
I can't help but laugh because it's like it mirrors my story like pretty close. Okay, so originally you're doing it in 24-hour gym. You left there at some point. Like, what happened?
Yeah. Well, we started, I gathered a following. There was, 3 or 4 of us that worked out as far as trainers and coaches in between clients while we were training at 24-hour fitness. And we just got to the point where they really didn't like what we were doing. They being just the management and other members, it didn't fit. There wasn't a place for it at the time.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't like a functional area that there is in most, even like big gyms now. They have at least some sort of pull-up area that's not right by the cable machines and things like that. And more than one squat rack. So we weren't doing Olympic lifting in the middle of the floor.
Yeah.
So we gathered together, and one of my clients actually happened to be my mom, who had really gotten into it the previous year. I trained all my clients with CrossFit. We all did CrossFit in between sessions. And then we got to the point where I was working with my mom, and she was like, hey, if we're going to do this thing, this kind of now's the time. You've got a really great thing going. Let's see what it looks like. So we decided to just start a kind of a personal training studio, basically, where I could take my clients, and then in between my clients, all me and my friends could do CrossFit.
Yeah.
And that was the business plan. There was nothing else. It was just that.
What year was that?
That was 2007.
Okay. So that's like early CrossFit.
Yeah. I think the first CrossFit.com workout was posted in 2001.
Yeah.
So I would say relatively early adopter.
Yeah, I was trying to think of when like affiliates started popping up.
Man, I would say
feels like a
3.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously you're doing CrossFit.
Yep.
It's kind of gaining popularity. At what point did you kind of transfer from, hey, this is just a training modality that I'm going to do, to like, this is something I'm going to compete in?
Oh man, I think it just kind of naturally, I stumbled on it. Really. I was smoking my friends. I mean, all my buddies, like they could not, nobody could keep up. And I loved it. Yeah. And there was I started to look for other local gyms, like CrossFit gyms. And there was, I think there was one other one, and they were going to run a CrossFit competition. And I was like, oh, cool. I'll get to see other like fit dudes. Yeah. And I crushed the competition. I just absolutely wiped the floor, smoked it, took first in everything across the board. And I was like, oh shit.
I did pretty good.
Okay. I was better than I thought, which was awesome. And it was like, okay, this is a lot of fun. I can get, we can make this a thing.
Yeah. Okay. So talk to us kind of about how that eventually worked its way into regionals. What time did they start doing regionals? Because they used to just do the open, right?
Yeah. Well, the first year that the open happened was actually 2011.
Okay.
So that was the open, and then they had the regional that same year.
Okay.
Previous to that, they had something was called, it kind of mirrors what actually is called now. Like it's called sanction. Like now they have like the sanctionals, which took the place of the regionals. But before the regionals, there was sectionals.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it was all like it was basically a local competition that you had to qualify, and then you would go to the games.
Okay.
And the first games was actually in 2007.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. So talk to us about did you ever do any of those, or was like you did the open in 2011?
2011 was the first time that we had anything that we were close enough to do.
Yeah.
Like in the open was worldwide for the first time, which is what made it accessible, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And then we as a gym could participate. And then we actually had a regional that was about an hour away from us, which was cool because we qualified and we were able to go to the regional, which qualified you for the game. So that was really, 2011 was really the first time that we, as a gym, got to compete and then go to regionals, which was amazing.
Did y'all do a team, or did y'all go as individuals?
It was cool. And again, they've kind of come full circle with this, but they had the affiliate. It was called the Affiliate Cup.
Yeah.
And I guess the last few years of the games, if you're familiar with CrossFit, they had super teams.
Yeah.
So you could be from anywhere and go crazy. But originally it was you had to train at the same gym.
Yeah.
And that was it, you know, so which they've gone back to, which I think is a great call because it developed this team aspect, which I was missing.
Yeah.
And we got to compete. I didn't qualify the first year. I was injured, but my girlfriend at the time did. And as a team, we didn't make it either. We weren't even close.
Yeah.
But she qualified, so we got to go and participate in that deal, which was amazing. And I mean, to give it like a point of scale, like the regionals and sanctionals and things are like multi-million-dollar setups. And in 2011, it was at a high school in Castle Rock.
Yeah.
And it was like, I mean, it was tragic. I mean, it was like tents. It was like a hippie village took over a high school for like a couple days, you know, which was cool.
That's
very,
awesome.
very Woodstock vibe.
Okay. What was your first year qualifying for the regionals?
2013.
Okay.
2013. Yeah. I actually had back surgery in 2012. And then coming off the back surgery, I qualified in 2013 through 2016.
What was the back surgery?
It was a discectomy on L5, S1. I've got several herniations all along that area in there.
They took the disc out. Did they fuse?
They didn't fuse. They were able to just take the fragments out. The only issues I have with it is the nerve pain.
Yeah.
Some of the fragments hit the femoral nerve, and my left leg is a little finicky.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's still kind of a testament to, I think a lot of times people use injuries, not as an excuse, but when you get hurt, there's a bit of a fear aspect of like, man, that hurt, and I don't want to feel that pain again. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes people will say, no, I got injured. I can never do that again. Or I can't do anything again. Especially with back injuries. I think, and we've talked about this in the past, but sometimes with a back injury, you go see a doc and the doc will say, okay, never deadlift again.
Yeah.
Which is not a accurate way of describing it, because it's like saying never pick up anything off the ground again. Well, that's probably going to be very difficult to do. So instead of saying never do again, why not say, let's figure out the right way to do it and ensure that you are building up the right muscles and the correct technique so that you'll never get hurt again. So I just think it's cool that you had you had a back injury surgery and then went to the regionals or a high level competitor the next year.
Yeah, it actually made me stronger.
Yeah.
Like it was, the mentality was, okay, this is messed up. And it wasn't like I was trying to blame CrossFit or anything that I did. It could have been from football. It could have been from anything that I did. I mean, I did plenty of stuff to be an idiot and, cause that in my back, but it was an opportunity to come back stronger. Yeah. It was like, okay, something's wrong. There's a dysfunction. And that's kind of how I viewed the injury, was there's a dysfunction of my movement pattern somewhere that I need to get better. Yeah. Not, I don't need to do this. I need to do this more. Yeah. And it made me hyper aware, and still to this day, of what am I feeling? Like that's all an injury or pain is just kind of a red flag. Like, hey, you need to do better. Yeah. And it's like, okay, like you can either say, okay, and then just never do it again, or you can actually heed the warning and do better and build stronger. My back needed to be strengthened, not backed off of. It just needed to do it in the right way. Yeah. And I think that CrossFit gave me the outlet to do that and explore that, which is also something we've talked about. I think CrossFit does really well, is gives people, at least myself from my experience, an opportunity to explore different things within that CrossFit can offer. That's when I got into powerlifting and learning how to lift differently, for my body structure, and it changed the game. And I came back, and within I would say 12 months of my surgery, blew all my PRs out of the water. Yeah. No question.
That's awesome.
And it went from right after surgery, I couldn't lift 25 pounds for 6 weeks.
Right.
Right.
Okay. So you qualified for the regionals that first year. Yep. Kind of talk to that experience.
Oh man, it had blossomed from 2011 to 2013. I mean, it started picking up steam. Like it was unfathomable. And the regional moved to Salt Lake City that year, and it was intense. I ended up getting 5th, and they took the top 3. Okay. So I was close, and I was still training by myself, just with my buddies, just like lighten it up. It was, I think back in the day, it was, you were a CrossFit gym owner, you worked out when you weren't coaching, and that was your life. That was literally it. Yeah, it was all we did.
Were you writing your own workouts, or were you doing like workouts, or what were we doing?
I did all of my own programming.
Okay.
For the gym and for myself.
Yeah.
And it was just straight theoretical guided programming from CrossFit.
Gotcha.
And it was just constantly varied, just looking at what we're doing. The only adaptations we would make is I would say, I don't know if it's an appropriate term for it, but it would be more competition specific things that we would see, such as multiple training periods in a day, multiple days in a row of multiple training events, things like that for a specific fitness event you're going to have to do, but wouldn't necessarily fall in the normal CrossFit programming.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Which I think is missed by most people.
Yeah.
They don't understand that that's not CrossFit.
Right.
The sport of CrossFit is not CrossFit. It is a sport.
Not even close.
Not even remotely.
It's like saying the sport of football is
exactly
the same as throwing a football with your kid in the front yard. It's like 100%. Not even close.
Not even in the same ballpark.
All right. So you get close. You get to fifth.
Yeah. Heartbreaking.
How's that impact you, like, mentally, and like what did you do differently the next year?
Well, I didn't feel like I had a shot going in 2013. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna get my ass kicked here, because I knew all the guys. I mean, they were light years ahead of me from what I felt
perceived.
Yeah, and I went in there and held my own, and it was kind of like, holy crap! Like if I would have pushed a little harder earlier in the weekend and known, and I was a rookie. I had never been to something that big. I was like, man, I could do this.
Yeah.
So I hired a coach. This was before getting a coach was a commonplace. Like, there wasn't coaches.
Right.
I had to really seek this guy out, and his name was Dusty Highland, and he was working with a lot of really well-known athletes at the time, like Lindsey Valenzuela, Sam Briggs, Noah Olson. He was working with them, and he was at the regional working with one of the athletes there, Zach Forrest, who ran an affiliate out of multi-time games athlete affiliate out of Las Vegas for a long time. And he was there, and I saw him coaching him, and I was like, that's what I need to get to the next level, is that. I need that dedication. And it was kind of a heart-to-heart with my mom of, I want to take this next year and see if I can.
Yeah.
Like, can you pick up the slack, because you're going to need to. Yeah. And she was like, yeah, like, let's go, because it was an investment. I mean, the programming and the coaching itself was well over $300 a month. Yeah. And on top of multiple training sessions, food. I mean, I think that's what people don't take into account, is the lifestyle that it takes to get to that level. It's not just training a lot. Yeah.
To be at a high level at really any physical sport is way more than just that training period. Yeah. It's 24/7, 365.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything we did was geared around fitness. Yeah. I mean, it was 100%. Where are we eating? How are we eating? Where's the food coming from? And that's when I started to kind of gain sponsors, was starting to work with local companies that would, one of my buddies started company named after our gym, which Progressive Fitness. They started Progressive Paleo, so I was sponsored by Progressive Paleo.
Very
and they provided all my food. Yeah, I got on through my coach with Progenics, and they provided all of my supplements. And we started working on that. And because one of my best friends was a masseuse, so I got a massage every single day. And I became good friends with a dry needling specialist. It was. I mean, it's constant.
You have an entire team.
It was.
To help you perform at your max.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So what happened in the next year?
Well, amazing opportunities that year, training with Dusty. Got to go out to LA a whole bunch, train out there for a few weeks, train with people like Sam Briggs, Noah Olson, Noah before he was the Noah of now, which is unstoppable. Got to see him kind of coming up, was really special as a younger kid. Getting to work with Sam Briggs and Lindsey Valenzuela was like life altering. Watching what they do is just unfathomable. Yeah. Really cool. I mean, just amazing people, so through that, it kind of brought me up a little bit, and I was able to really feel like I belonged when I got back to the regional, so it was like, okay, I can hang with these guys. I've trained with these guys. Like, we're ready.
It's almost like that first time when you step onto the field, into the weight room, your freshman year of college football, and you're like, oh crap.
Yeah, 100%. You're like, what did I do?
You're like, oh crap. I'm like, you go from being the top dog in your high school where you're the biggest, fastest, strongest, and you go in, you're like, I am at the bottom of the totem pole right now.
The bottom of the bottom.
I'm a boy, those are men.
100%. That was absolutely, you just kind of, even though for a CrossFitter, I am huge by comparison, like size and weight wise, I'm a giant. I felt like I was looking up at everybody. Yeah, I was just like, whoa. Oh my God, what are they doing? I'm not in the right, I don't belong here. Yeah. And then that next year, 2014, I was like shoulder to shoulder. I was like, let's go. Like I am not scared of you guys. And it was awesome. It was a lot of fun stepping into that for the first time and having the confidence of training and like actually knowing what to do.
How old were you in 2014?
Oh man, I should probably know. And math would probably help here, but
when were you born?
I was born in 1984, so I had to be 30.
Yeah, so you're 30.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
Easy one. We got lucky.
Boom. Easy math there.
So I was actually probably older.
Yeah.
I would say a little older in the field comparatively,
yeah.
You know. I mean, especially for like Noah and some of those guys. I mean, they were babies at that point and just getting to that, you know, maturity level. I think I had that going for me, which was the maturity aspect of it. Yeah. Which was a blessing. You know, I was like, man, like I am 30. I run my own business. It wasn't like I didn't get as many jitters. It wasn't, you know, it was kind of like, all right, I'm gonna be all right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that was interesting.
All right. So what happened in 2014?
The workouts aligned amazingly for what I had been training. My coach Dusty did an amazing job getting me ready. Doing things that I didn't think were possible, and walked in, crushed day one. I mean, absolutely obliterated day two, was sitting at the top of the leaderboard and going into day three.
Is it 3 workouts a day?
Depends. Usually it was 2, depending on the workout. Sometimes it was 3, depending, like it could be a 2-parter, like 2 pieces, different things like that. Okay. So it kind of depends, but yeah, so typically going into day 3, like comparatively, like in 2013, after day 1, I honestly didn't think I could move going into day 2. Yeah. And then day 2 going into day 3, I got up and I remember like looking at my mom and my girlfriend being like, I don't know that I can do this. Yeah. Like I physically, like back in the day, like there was, it was when Kelly Starrett first started, and you know, there was no mobility tools. They didn't exist, you know? So it was like, we were piecing crap together from the hardware store. We had a car buffer that we had bought because there's no massage. Yeah. So, I mean, I was literally like hours before, just like my girlfriend was just car buffing my whole body because I couldn't move. And it was insane. But going into 2014, like day to day, it was like, I'm good. I am ready. Like, I mean, but again, it was every minute of the competition. It was like you finish the competition, like the workout, you immediately begin the preparation for the next one as far as cooling down, like what you were doing in between was just as, if not more important. It really wasn't a test of like fitness, because most people are equal at that level. Yeah. I mean, they're pretty close. You're gonna have your strengths, you're gonna have your weaknesses, different stuff there, but can you recover between workouts and do it again? Can you keep your level that high for that long is what it played out.
It's kind of like a car race. It's like all the cars go pretty daggum fast. Yeah. It's just, do you have all the other things in place? Is your team in place? Is your strategy in place to like give you those opportunities to just inch ahead when the opportunities arise?
Absolutely. It was one of those, like, we always use the term like blood in the water. Yeah. Like you're just kind of hanging out. Everybody's going to be hanging out at roughly the same speed, but you see one person just kind of like fumble, like take a deep breath, hook grip their shorts a little bit, you know, like take a deep breath or something. And you're like, boom, got you. Yeah. And like you knew it right then. And you could just just a little at a time, you know, or you like walk around after workout like you're not tired. Yeah. You know, you never look tired, you know, things like that. Because I mean, it wears people down, and it's a long weekend. You know, it's a really long weekend, and it's like, if you can, normally the points are pretty close, so if you can show up on Sunday and you're looking good and you're moving good, it's gonna that in itself, as you walk into the arena, beats people down.
All right, so day two.
Day two was great, and then I would say it's probably about 9:30 in that night, and I had finished my last meal and I was just kind of laying down, and then my stomach started to rumble a little bit, and I was like, man, I just feel off.
Yeah.
And then I immediately shot up and just went and just puked my guts out for like an hour. And I was like, oh man, I thought it was just bad food. I was like, oh, okay, cool, I'm done. And I went and laid down, and then like 10 minutes later, same thing. And like for like 4 hours, I was just obliterated, just on the floor, just dying. And I was like, what is going on? And so we were kind of scrambling, and we were like, all right, if I have any hope of being able to move by the morning, I need fluid bad. So we were actually able, one of my best friends is a firefighter, an EMT, and he knew somebody at the local FD. And actually got the fire department to come into our hotel room and give me an IV at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, this is my only shot. Like, I'm going to try to make it here. And I showed up, and it kind of, the event it looked kind of funky, like as everybody was coming in, and it turns out that it wasn't just me. It was it was something in the water. Yeah. And there was a contaminant of some sort, and like something ridiculous, like 40 to 50% of the field had gotten sick and withdrawn from competition. Wow. Which was, unbelievable, especially for this level of athlete to pull out at this point. I mean, it's been the last like 5 years of our lives leading up to this moment, like literally the next 20 minutes of working out. And I was still on the fence. Like I was walking around, like I started to warm up a little bit, and I'd go over and I'd throw up in the trash can, and I started to warm up a little bit, throw up in the trash can. And I was just like, finally, I was just to that point where I don't really know what happened, but it just kind of broke me. And I was like, this is not worth it. Yeah. Like I'm done. And I just went outside and laid in the grass for like 5 hours while they finished up the competition. And that was it. I knew it was over. But I think in my mind, it was a total success. Like I could hang. I beat everybody I wanted to beat. I knew that I could go if I really needed to go. Yeah. And I felt successful at that point, you know, and I was tired. Like I was so tired from just life. Yeah. And I was like, I am so done. Yeah.
It's hard to really understand the level of commitment it takes to be like an elite level athlete. Yeah. Like you said, just even the difference between going from like, I'm a pretty good athlete, I'm training several times a day, to what it takes to go, okay, now I'm going to do everything. I'm going to find that entire team. My entire life is going to revolve around my performance as an athlete. Yeah. And there's this mental kind of and social strain and emotional strain that kind of puts on you. And at some point you're just like, I just want something different.
I can't even imagine. I mean, Matt Frazier just came out, and with his like retirement and his why and everything. And, I did it for a year solid. I can't imagine what those guys go through. I can't even fathom. Yeah. I can't even fathom what that feels like. I mean, that level of social, just seclusion. Yeah. And to get there, it's just unbelievable.
And it's kind of like when some people, like when let's say an NFL player retires before at their peak, or like any professional athlete, people are like, why? You're making so much money, and da da da. And you just don't get it.
Yeah, they want a life. Yeah, yeah, they want something. Yeah. They want to enjoy something again. Because it's a job. And that's inevitably what it took away from me. Yeah, it was something that I loved to do with my friends. It was my hobby. It was amazing. It would change my life. And then now it was the one thing that I really didn't want to do. Yeah, and I was like, oh, this sucks.
We haven't talked about my full story, I don't think. No. I'll give you like the bird's eye view of it. But it's funny because like I played football and went and played at a D2 school as a defensive end. Nice. Very much was more of a meathead and like performed better in the gym than I did on the field. Yep. I was like, well, the top guy's in the weight room, but definitely not the top dude on the field. Left, started personal training my mom. She didn't help me open the gym, but just kind of opened the gym and like basically was a competitive. I kind of bounced around from weightlifting, powerlifting, bodybuilding. I did some strongman stuff and then some endurance racing stuff. And then I just kind of said, I'm going to do powerlifting. So for like a 6-7 year period, I just powerlifted with like 2 stints of doing bodybuilding competitions. Wow. So Yeah, and I had the whole team, had the massage therapist,
Yeah.
and the dry needling person, did my nutrition. That's just like that was like my full life. And then just one day, it's like, man, I'm just done.
Yeah.
I just want something different.
Yeah. And it took me a long time to understand what shifted that day.
Yeah.
But, you know, in hindsight, looking back, and we'll dive into this a little deeper, but it was my values shifted.
Yeah.
At that moment, I didn't know it. It
Yeah.
would take me a very long time and a lot of dumb things to understand what that meant, but
Yeah.
it was a value shift,
Yeah.
you know? And before we move on to any of that, I want to ask, what endurance did you do?
Right. Yeah, I did a couple of like obstacle course races.
Yeah, okay.
I just kind of like I would pick a 6-month period and say, okay, I'm going to train for a bodybuilding or a powerlifting meet. And then the next 6-month period, like I'm going to do a bodybuilding show. The next 6-month period, like I'm going to do a strongman competition. The next one, I'm going to do a weightlifting competition. The next one, I'm going to do this. I just kind of was like, I needed something to do.
Yeah.
When I left football, I was like, I need something because I only know competition.
Yep.
You know, I only know physical competition, and I need to find something. And so I just kind of did all those things and went, okay, I like this one the most.
Yeah.
Or maybe I was like, I'm the better at this one compared to the other ones.
Yeah,
I was not very good at the endurance.
Totally. As I was like, we're about the same size.
Yeah.
Like that is the least effective for me as far as modalities are concerned.
No, I did it. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, that was cool.
Check it out.
But
See you later.
that's not my thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The value shift, I think that's a great way of putting it. It's just like, at that time, it's like the most important thing.
Yep.
And what I call it is like my identity shifted. Like my identity was kind of locked into like my performance as a powerlifter, or my performance as a strength athlete. And that's how I viewed myself. That's a lens I viewed myself through, and it's a lens I kind of viewed everyone else through. And for me, the thing that shifted me was like, my wife and I were trying to have kids, and that kind of just changed things, you know, and shifted my values to kind of like, well, like my life is going to have to stop being about me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Bottom line.
Yeah. And so like, and for myself, the necessity to train 3 hours 4 or 5 days a week, train every Saturday, train Friday nights.
Yeah.
Like when I was doing bodybuilding, I was eating, I probably got like 8,000 calories a day, like through like 9 to 10 meals. And so like just the brutality of doing that day in, day out, it just wore on me. I was just like, I'm just not going to be able to do this anymore. Like if I want to have kids. So that was kind of the shift for me. What was the shift for you?
Yeah, it was very similar. I wanted to be known for more than just my physical capabilities.
Yeah.
I was like, I can do anything I touched physically, I could do well, and had been my whole life.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't that, it was just natural for me. Yeah. But it was like I understood something at that point where it was like, this is going to go away. And it was like, okay. And it was also really freeing. Yeah. Looking back now, you know, at the time, it didn't necessarily feel that way. It felt like I was giving up something. Yeah. Because I didn't know how to move with it yet. But in reality, it was really freeing because it allowed me to explore other things. It allowed me to explore what I could do and friends, family, you know, business. You know, it was like, oh, I should probably pay a little more attention to my business rather than how much I'm eating and training. And, you know, lo and behold, things picked up a bit. You know, so it was at that moment, you know, laying on that grass, it was like, man, now what? And, you know, then the next year began, you know, it was interesting. So
how did you answer that? What was now what?
Oh man, it was a total shift in my entire life. I had been with my girlfriend at the time, and she was a competitive athlete, you know, amazing woman. And we ended that relationship shortly after that regional. And I mean, everything it was kind of like it was like a midlife crisis when I was like 31.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, oh my God, what do I do? This is all I've ever known.
Right.
All my friends are about this. My family's like, this is it, And from then on, it was just kind of this like soul searching.
Yeah.
And through it, I think the first thing for me was having fun while training.
Yeah.
Was like the component, like, how do I do that again? Like, so it was like bringing my friends in and like not taking the open so seriously and like doing those things. And I ran into my wife in that period, in 2015. And, funny enough, I still qualified for the regionals, and did well, but it was a new format that year. It was what they called the super regionals. So it was previously, it was like you had like the Southwest, the Mid-Atlantic, and you kind of went your own regional, but now it was like all of the South with Latin America merged into one giant regional. And I qualified like 14th for that. Yeah. And I was like, well, I gotta go.
Yeah.
So I went to that, and that was the first competition that was just more fun.
Yeah.
I didn't have a coach. I dropped the coach, and we were just kind of rolling on our own, and still my own programming, having fun, focusing on friends and family, and ended up doing, I think I got like 12th or something like that. Yeah. But it was more about just having the experience of going to that event, which was really cool. Yeah. But yeah, that was the year that I started to explore what it was like to have fun working out and having a family and things like that. So it was interesting.
What, did you ever, I mean, cause you stuck with CrossFit, and I think that's probably something that's a little different. Yeah. From a lot of people's experiences, because like I couldn't still power lift, like mentally. Yeah. Because I was always kind of comparing myself to that previous. And obviously, and I think kind of thinking through it, like obviously if you're a professional football player, you stop playing football, you're not going to like keep playing recreational football. Sure. But if you're a golfer, yeah, like you can still do golf. Exactly. So,
I think the nature of the sport and the way I approached it was I went back and just asked, why did I start? Yeah. And I saved my original training journals, and I like from the first day I did CrossFit, my first L1 in like 2007, and I was like, why? And I went back and started looking at what I did, and it was like a love for programming. It was like a love for constantly varied. Like I just wanted to be able to do anything at any time. Anytime anybody asks, like, you want to go to a 5K? Done. You want to go to a powerlifting meet? Done. You want to go climb a 14er in Colorado? Done. Yeah. Like, it was like, I wanted to be able to be like a special ops, like without being special ops, and that's what I wanted. And I was like, I can do that, So I started doing all sorts of random crap mixed with my CrossFit. Gotcha. And that's what I fell back in love with. It was like, oh, I can do this, and I don't have to do that workout if I don't want to. And, stop doing strength cycles and like all these things that weren't traditional CrossFit for me, and went back to just traditional CrossFit and a willingness to explore it, not to put it in a box and be like, it has to be this. It was like, well, what if we did this? Yeah. What if we did that? And what if I did this? And allowed it to kind of morph into whatever it needed to be for me at that time. Yeah. And allowed it to kind of go along that path is what I think started in 2015.
That's awesome. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. I think the thing that got me was when I kind of had my moment, I was like, my knees are beat up. My body is physically worn out. I'm on 3 blood pressure medications. I was like 285, and I was like 32 or 33, and kind of went, I used to be an athlete. Like thinking back to like middle school, and it's like I used to play 3 sports. We would go rock climbing, we go mountain biking, like we did all kinds of outdoor activities. And I was like, man, like I stay away from all that stuff now because it would take away from like my powerlifting. Yeah. And I just was like, man, like I used to be an athlete, and I don't feel that way anymore. I was like, I want to have confidence in my body to do things and just feel good again. Yeah. And then, and for a while I was like, well, I'll kind of like do some different training on my own. And I was just like, I cannot train by myself. I've really only ever trained with other people, except for like some brief stints in bodybuilding, and that was relatively miserable. Like you gutted it out. Yes. But it's like I'm extroverted. I like to be around people. You know, the vast majority of my fitness experience was going from like being on teams to like having training partners, having a training crew, you know, all that kind of stuff. And it's like I just need to be around people again. So the first CrossFit workout I did, I remember I had like burpees in it at the very end, and it was the class time was primarily like 40, 50, 60-year-olds, and they're all like done a good 5 minutes before me, like clapping their hands, go like, "Come on, David, you got this." I was like, "Stop patronizing me." I'm just like dragging myself off the floor. But that was kind of my shift, and kind of what's attracted it to me now is like I can go in, I can build relationships, I can work out for 1 hour where like I had never worked out for 1 hour up until that point. It was like 2-3 hours every time. And just have a little more confidence in my body to be able to kind of like go do anything. Yep, like still pretty strong, pretty good shape, still got pretty decent muscle. Like I can go bike, I can go run, I can go play with my kids. Like I can take it on without, you know, worrying if like I'm gonna get hurt or what I might feel like the next day or whatever. So
yeah,
that was kind of the shift in me, which attracted me to CrossFit.
Yeah.
And kind of away from the sport I had known for 70 years.
Yeah, and I think you brought up something that was a huge factor for me. Was a lot of the training I did when I was training hard was by myself.
Yeah.
It was like I had people that would just come kind of pace me and just like be with me, and then somebody else would tap in the middle of the workout, or a different person would come for the next training session or whatever, or just sit with me.
Yeah.
But it was miserable. I was like, man, like to the same point, like I love being on a team. I love hanging out in the gym and working out for an hour, you know, not 10, an hour, you know, and then say high five, see you tomorrow. You know, like I loved that. And it was like that vision of that going back to it is what really, I think, drew me back to it, which was great.
It's interesting because I remember I was talking to someone one time. We kind of like we're talking and realized each of us we were doing CrossFit, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I do it with my gym." And I was like, "I can't train by myself. I love being around people." And he was like, "Oh, I don't like being around people." He's like, "I only like training by myself," which was interesting. But I think for the most people, the community aspect of training is vital and not really taken into consideration as much as it should be.
Totally agree.
Because it's just like as human beings, we are social creatures, you know?
Yeah.
And the nice thing about it is like there's times where you need to be pushed. There's times where like you are selling yourself short mentally and you are just being too soft. Mm-hmm. And you need someone else there to not necessarily like confront you on it verbally, but to just show you like this is the output you need to be doing. Yep. This is the expectation of what you can do, and hold you accountable to like doing that. There's also times where like you need to be told good job, you know, by someone.
Yeah.
When you're like, there's been times where you need to be picked up, and there's also times where like you need to be that person that is setting the standard, that is picking someone else up, that is giving the high five or whatever. So like, and I think the deeper that the more you do that, it creates a deeper and deeper and deeper connection, and that's one of the necessities for like long-term success. It's like there's only so long. Don't get me wrong. There are people who are just mental, magicians and can just be solo and do all that kind of stuff. That's not the average person.
Sure.
The average person is going to find themselves coming up against struggles and obstacles, and if they're doing it solo enough times, eventually they're going to give up.
Yeah.
You know, but that social aspect allows people to get through it together as a team. And it adds just such a deeper dynamic to it that makes it sustainable. Yeah. And that's like when I see people like struggling or you know, being on and off, it's always through seclusion. You know what I mean? It's like if you were here, you wouldn't be struggling. You just like they seclude themselves. They ignore the text messages. They don't want to. They remove themselves from the community because they have the option to. And when they do that, that's when you're going to stop. That's where you're going to fail or struggle, whatever. But whatever you're going through, if you stay connected to community, you'll get through it. You know, and I think that's an underappreciated aspect of CrossFit and training in general. A lot of times people want to get into the specifics of well, how many hours, how many reps, how many sets, what percentages, how many macros. I'm like, none of that matters if it's not over a long period of time.
Yeah.
One of the things I say is it doesn't really matter what changes you make in the next 6 weeks. If in the next 6 years or 60 years, you're not still doing them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I want to see people build 60 years of fitness. I want you to start and never stop.
Yep.
I don't want you to be on and off, on and off, on and off. And I think the community aspect to me is one of the most helpful aspects of making that 60-year period really happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's the thing that allowed me to go from, I guess I call myself kind of jokingly a semi-professional exerciser.
Yeah.
Because I think CrossFit being a sport is hilarious.
Yeah.
But going from that, being able to come back to the community and be loved.
Yeah.
They didn't judge me. When I walked back into the gym, they were just like you did so amazing. We love you.
Yeah, proud of you, bud.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah.
You want to do some pull-ups?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I do. That's awesome. And that's been the great thing about, I think the next year it was kind of funny. I did the Open just to do the Open, and I qualified for the regionals
again. Oh, you mean the next?
The 2016. Yeah. I was man, it was. I was like, holy crap, kind of residual fitness from the stack I had built, and that's when I really made the decision to I had to do something drastic to end my competitive career. So I opted to not go to the regionals. I did not accept the invitation, and I went to Nepal. I went to Nepal with my wife and my now wife, who's a member here as well. Yeah. And we explored for 2 weeks and hiked to Everest Base Camp. And it was that moment was the defining moment where it was kind of out of the gray.
Yeah.
We were in the gray for a couple of years, and it kind of turned, and it was click, and it was okay, we're heading family. We're going for community at the gym. And it was that moment when I realized that was what I had missed, was that community aspect. And when we moved here to Memphis last year, that was the one thing that we missed the most, was the community aspect of it. Just like you spoke of, we became recluses, there was a lot going on. We had COVID, new jobs, new place, secluded. We weren't living around here, so we kind of made a decision. We're all right, we need to get plugged in somewhere. And we looked for a CrossFit gym. I was I got to go back to my roots, because I was training by myself in my garage. I was, training every day. We had a sick garage set up. It was every piece of equipment you can imagine. I mean, I used to own a gym. It was decked out. Yeah. And we hated it. Yeah. It was awful, because it would be slugging it out in 100-degree weather by yourself. And I am that kind of that jackass, that donkey in the hailstorm. I like hot, no airflow. Yeah. I'm just suffering. I dig that. That is my home. Yeah. And I was not finding solace there. Yeah. And it was I was something's wrong, and so we came to the gym, and honestly, when I came to NBS, I think it was the first time probably in my entire fitness CrossFit experience, because if you look back, I had always owned the gym. Yeah. So that's you're always looked at a little differently, as you can relate, it's always a little different. But when I stepped into the gym here, I was just a member. Yeah. And it was oh man, this is cool. Yeah. It was fun. I got to experience it all over again and fell back in love with the general physical preparedness and what the community has to offer. And that's what I think was the biggest bridge in the gap between being a competitive athlete and then being able to still do the sport that I competed in on a recreational basis, was the support of the community without question. No question is I could not have done it, because I would have separated. I would have gone into seclusion, and, being able to have the accountability, the texts where I'm oh, I really don't want to go to the gym today, but I'm Johnny's going to be there. I got to go see
Johnny's going to be there.
Johnny's going to be there. Matt's going to kick my ass, my wife's, I got to try to beat my wife's time, which won't happen. But Yeah, no, I think that's the coolest part, and I 100% agree. Is the most underrepresented, and I think it's the funniest because it's the least thing people talk about. They're like, "Oh, what are your reps? What are your sets? What are your percentages? What are your macros? You know, are you going keto?" It's like none of that matters.
Yeah,
none of it. Like it'll matter. It'll become like you'll stumble across the appropriate path due to the community.
Yeah.
Like those things will be the outcome of focusing on being a part of the community because you'll find what works for you.
Yeah.
There's no prescription.
No.
I mean, you're going to find a mix of like 30 different things that eventually will work together in perfect harmony for you. But you got to try them, and you got to talk to somebody and be like, well, what do you do?
Yeah.
They're like, well, I do this and this. Like, oh, cool. Like, or coach told me this. Like, oh, try that, you know, like that's the magic is like the melting pot, not the way, you know, it's principles over methods. And that's what I love about CrossFit and the community is it's a set of principles. It's not, you know, CrossFit didn't come up with the thruster or the squat or the zone diet or any of the stuff that they promote.
Yeah.
They just gave the space to create, which is inevitably what made it awesome.
Yeah, 100%. So now, how's your mind shifted from like a goal standpoint? Like, how do you determine like what your goals are? Because I think there's, we kind of talked about the importance of the community aspect, and there's also the importance of like having some particular goal that you're trying to achieve. I think going through the motions also tends to kind of create atrophy and fall off. So like how's your mind, what was your mental shift, and like now how do you view goal setting?
Man, great question. That's probably been the hardest part from the competitive, because when you compete, it's like you want to win. Yeah. Cool. But then you stop competing, it's like it went from this really narrow focused, I want to be a competitor at the CrossFit Games, to I just want to be healthy when I'm older. Yeah. You know, which was just terrible. I think it's the default. Like, I want to, like
it's very arbitrary.
It's very beautiful, fluffy, like on a cloud with unicorns and shit. Yeah. And it was awesome. Like it worked for like a day. Yeah. And then you want to start training for something, but it's like, what do you train for? So I think initially it was the GPP. I want to be able to do anything. But along with that, I started to sign up for random hard things. Mm-hmm. And that's something I still take with me is I try to do a couple stupid hard things a year without training for them outside of CrossFit. And the other thing that's really helped me honestly has been the gym here has been the level method. Yeah. Like I love doing Fran, but if I do Fran again, I'm going to punch somebody in the face. Like if I like a lot of the benchmarks that I've done, like I'm never going to be able to hit the numbers that I've hit before. Right. So it's actually kind of defeating for me, or it was. But now looking at kind of what the level method has kind of paired up with doing hard things, it's like, okay, it allows me, like the level method allows me to fill the gaps that I know I need to work on, but I really will never do on my own. Yeah. But it allows me to do those with a group. And I'm like, hey, we're all working on this crap today. Like, but we're doing it together. So I'm like, all right, cool. That's fun. And I think the goal for me then becomes to be as well-rounded as possible, which is something that I think was missing, you know? So it takes me back to that, like well-rounded, like how I started for that general physical preparedness, like craving that. And it actually puts something tangible to it rather than like, I just want to be healthy while I'm older. Well, if it's like, if I keep striving for virtuosity and all of these components, by default, I'm going to get there. Right. You know? And it's like, okay, cool. So I think for me that those have been two components that have really helped me dial in what I'm working on in the gym to have something, a goal to work toward. Yeah, I think for me, very similar. It's funny. Someone asked me the other day. They're like, well, you know, what are your who I'm coaching for powerlifting? He was like asking me what my numbers are, and I kind of was like, I mean, I was like, I probably squatting about 425 to 450. I'm probably deadlifting around 5, and I'm probably benching close to 3. And in my mind, I'm like, which is like 500, 600 pounds lower than my best. Right. And, you know, total. Yeah. He was like, man, you're strong. And I was like, oh, okay. That was I was not thinking that. But it kind of, it's two things. One, it's just kind of that mentality. Like when you go into the gym, and I like in the past when I saw like
like everyone's like, David, did you hit a PR? And I'm like, I'm never going to hit another PR again. Like, that's just a reality. Like, I'm probably never going to hit another deadlift PR.
Yeah.
And so there was kind of a struggle with like doing that and like having those previous performances in the back of your head and like knowing what you're capable of. But also shows like the fact of like when you've stacked that many years of training, like you've just got that base level that is not maybe peaked out, but like it's still like significantly higher than the average person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
But so like my goal originally was just like, I had to just figure out a habit and a routine that just gets me into the class, into the gym, that gets me into there. And that was kind of like getting to CrossFit. And then for me, like I can set like an individual goal every single day. So like that day I can walk in and say, okay, based off of the workout, based off of other people, here's kind of my goal for that day. So I get like an individual new goal each day to kind of strive for, like try to prepare for. And then the nice thing about CrossFit is because it is so diverse, there's so many different components. I'm like, I can definitely make some improvements here, and I can make some improvements here. And that's one of the reasons we had originally kind of created our own little, it wasn't the level method, but our own kind of little level up board.
The PR board thing.
And then we came across the level method. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what we were trying to do, but better, like the best way of doing it. And like you said, like to me that is an amazing way of giving you a clear path forward. I think sometimes when you come out of that, like out of that competitive mindset or that competitive atmosphere, like for powerlifting, it's super objective. I need to put 5 more pounds on. I need to put 10 more pounds on. You know, to do this total, whatever it's going to be. And so when you kind of come out of that, you're like, I need some type of like objective way of seeing like where I'm at, where I'm going, and like how to get there. And that the level method has been amazing at doing that. Yeah. And the cool thing, I think, or another aspect of it's kind of like there's also like a goal of not letting yourself fall off. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Because there's been times like when I like kind of jacking up my elbow, like a lot of my upper body strength kind of went down a bit, and it's not necessarily like taking it past where it was, but I'm like, ooh, it was at a level that like it needs to get back to. Yeah, it's like I probably don't need to. I'm not willing to do what it takes to get back to a 600-pound deadlift. I don't want to do that. But, like, I don't really want it to fall from a 500-pound deadlift. So, like, that's another level of, like, goal is, like, well, I'm going to maintain, like, that level. Like, how can I maintain this while still being able to, like, make some progress over here, you know?
I love that. Yeah. I think but that brought up 2 things for me. I think one thing that I started to do was I had to set post-competitive PRs. Yeah. Like I had to reset the board. Yeah. Because it was depressing. It was like, I'm never going to reach that again, and nor do I want to. Yeah. I have no desire to, you know, but I need to know that I'm improving. Like, okay, this is a new PR for me. Yeah. You know, I'm going for this again. Like I will hit that again, like for sure. Yeah. And to your point, I love that it keeps rounding me out, because as I get older, you know, my goal is to be even across the board, but I have no, you know, random ideas that it's going to be, you know, accelerating as I get older, but it sure as shit doesn't need to drop off. Yeah. You know, I can maintain and keep up with where I'm at right now, if not accelerate until I can't in a safe way, which is awesome. Yeah. You know, and I think the other benchmark that I always forget about that I always do despite hating it is the open. Yeah. You know, it's a great benchmark, and I think they've done a great job of incorporating the age into it. You know, so you become a master at 35. It's a different ball game. Yeah, you know, so which is great. Yeah, I know, right? And then we're in that field, which is awesome, and you get to see that progress every 5 years, and you get to stay up on it. And it's another one of those that turns it into a lifelong love, and you get to compete with your buddies all over the world, which is like amazing. Like, you know, I've got this one thing with a guy in like Switzerland that for like 7 years we've been neck and neck, no matter where we're at. And, you know, I look forward to looking for him on the leaderboard every single year. And inevitably, we're going to crush the same workouts. We suck at the same stuff. I'm pretty sure we're like from the same lineage.
He's your doppelganger.
100%. No question. But it's like,
does he know about, did you know each other?
No, we don't know. No, we don't know each other at all.
Does he know you're looking
No clue. He has no clue. It's silence, in behind the curtain, I should probably message him.
I really hope if there's any way that he hears this.
Yeah. He's
like, oh, I know Chris Hoppe. That's the guy.
That's him.
That's the guy I look for every year.
That's it. We're always next to each other. It's crazy. But
that's awesome.
But I love that. I think that's another community aspect that's overlooked with
Very
CrossFit.
cool.
It's like, oh, it's the open. It's like so hard. It's like, yeah, but it's fun. Like, cause I miss competing.
It's the community competition that it brings all that together. It just makes you feel connected to the entire world of fitness.
And it puts you in your ego in the right frame of mind.
Yeah.
Because you look at it, you're like, you're not going to win, bro.
Yeah.
But you get to compete with your buddies and you get to suffer together. And then at the end, you high five and you talk about how you could do it better. And you're like, oh, I might try that again. I might try to get like 5 more reps and beat so-and-so from Venezuela. Let's go. It gives you the opportunity to do that, which is so awesome. Like, it's so fun.
I think, man, like one of the crazy things about CrossFit to me is you get a real like honest comparison of like yourself versus the best. It's hard to conceptualize how good like LeBron James is.
Yeah.
Because like even if you play basketball, like you've never gone against him, or maybe you've like never gone against someone like that's even in the pros or whatever. Like even in football, I'm like I kind of have a concept of like the jump from high school to college, and like people have told me what it feels like to jump from like this to this.
Yeah.
But like I've experienced the exact same workout that guy has done.
Right.
Or that
the girl. Let's be real. Let's be real here. And a lot of the masters, like 60 plus athletes, I'm like, all right, I'm gunning for you. That's what I'm training for right now.
The 65 plus like females in the games, I'm like, I think I could take
That's it. Yeah. On a good day. Like if I'm rested and you've trained for like 5 days, maybe.
Yeah.
But that's exactly it. Like that's awesome.
Yeah. Brandon and I were kind of joking that I was like, I can probably out deadlift most of the girls, but that is the only thing I could even come
remotely
to.
close.
Like,
Hands down.
I was like, me and my best day going against one of them on the last place games athlete on their worst day.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get obliterated,
trounced. Yeah.
And so it's cool. It makes you have a crazy appreciation for like that level of fitness. It's just like the fact that they can do what they do. It's just like.
Well, and it's the only sport where you can compete with them.
Right.
Like you're on the same leaderboard.
Yep.
You're finding out about the workout at the same time.
Yep.
Like you're doing it. And then I think it's even fun. Like when the regionals and the games come out and you try some of those workouts and you see what they do and you do it and you're like, how?
How is that even possible?
And that's you're like 13th workout of the day at that point for the games. And I'm like fresh on Saturday, full of pizza and I'm ready to go, carved up. And then I just tank 10 seconds into the workout, It's like, man, that's so awesome. Like it's just really, it's cool to be that intertwined with it.
Yeah. One of the craziest ones, I'm trying to think of her name. She's one of the top 4 last year. One of the shorter girls who's really good at gymnastics.
Carrie Pierce.
So, and I can't remember the workout is, but I think it's like 10 pull-ups or
Mary. Yeah.
10 handstand push-ups, 15 pull-ups.
5 handstand push-ups, 10
pull-ups,
pistols, 15
pull-ups. That's right.
Yeah. 20 minutes.
Yeah. And she did. It wasn't last year when they did it as like the Murph variation, which was insane. But the year before, she did like 21 or 20 rounds. She was doing a minute
plus.
Yeah. At 1 minute or a minute every minute. She was doing a round.
Yep.
Unbroken the entire time.
The whole time.
This is insane.
Unbelievable. I challenge anybody to do
20 rounds of 15 pull-ups, unbroken.
Yeah.
Bam, 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 every minute.
Yeah.
I was like, that is just
unreal.
Unreal. It's unreal. It's like I can fathom like people running fast.
Sure.
I can fathom people jumping high.
But that
is hard for me to.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Super impressive.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. Well, very cool, Chris, man. We appreciate you coming on the NBS Fitness Radio podcast, and excited to share your story with the world, man.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate y'all having me. It's been a lot of fun, and I love talking about this stuff, and I love the journey that is fitness. You know, I really think it's not just something people do, it's part of who we are, you know, and it's cool to be a part of that in a community and get to share with people. So I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, brother. We're out.
Thank you for listening to NBS Fitness Radio. If you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to share it with your friends, follow us on social media, and check out our website at www.nbsfitness.net. Hit the subscribe button and tune in next time for more NBS Fitness Radio.